Let's now look at the mechanism behind the monetary process. So, when money is injected into the economy, how does it get through the system and end up affecting prices and potentially GDP in the short run? Our initial inquiry looked at the optimal amount of money to put in, and we found out it's basically enough money to maintain GDP as it is. We need to account for how often it changes hands, but that's how much money we want to put in there. Any less and we shrink GDP, and any more and we overinflate prices, and so we want to look at that process now. I'm going to consider the case of an increase in the money supply. To be unrealistic but very simple for teaching reasons, we're going to assume we increase it by 10%, okay? A full 10% extra money out into this island economy. Secondly, also unrealistic but a simple way to think about it, we're going to imagine what we call a helicopter drop, which is a helicopter flies over our little island and drops money equally for everybody. This eliminates any other concerns we need to worry about. So each person wakes up in the morning, comes out of their little hut in our economy, and finds that they have extra cash, $100 extra sitting on their front porch. What happens? I'm going to look at the effect in our overall goods market. So this is all of the goods and services traded in the entire economy captured in one graph. So this is really all goods, and so it's really all the little quantities, so it's really real GDP, okay? But it's everything. So it's important to remember that it's all the goods and services at once. So let's walk through the process. The first thing that happens is each consumer feels like they've got more money in their pocket. So each of them goes out to increase consumption. They probably save some of the money too, but we'll ignore that for now. But they go out and spend it. And this increases demand in this is all consumers, in every little market. Demand increases. These are supply and demand diagrams. Demand increases. In every little market, demand goes up. Okay? And there's 1,000 of these little markets. Initially, the shop owner just sees that there's extra demand, so they think this is great. They sell extra stuff. Maybe they have something in the extra warehouse or an inventory. So at the very initial hit, quantity can increase out to here. Quantity can increase out to here as this demand goes up before prices even move. Okay? That could be captured here as well. In reality, that probably wouldn't be that big of a jump. But you get the idea. There's some boost in quantity initially. How can that even happen? Sure, in some cases there'll be shortages. There's more demand than they have in supply and stock. But in other cases, they have extra inventory that they can sell out first of all, before they start raising prices. The second thing that happens, though, is shops realize the increase in demand is sustained. So what do they try to do? They want to work everyone overtime to increase production, right? These are each individual businesses. Well, every shop sees an increase in their demand. So every business in this economy tries to increase the number of workers it has. So slowly, they're working people overtime, which means workers demand time and a half, higher wages. They start to try to hire workers, but every single business is trying to hire more workers, and so this also puts up pressure on wages. The result of this is that businesses start to raise the price in order to afford to pay for these things, And so now you see in each of these little markets, there's the higher demand, but instead of being out here, the quantity supplied starts to rise. We still went from here to here, not all the way out to there. So we begin to rise up to here. So there is still an increase in output, but it's not all the way out to here. Okay? And that depends on how quickly prices start to adjust. The next thing to note, this is all the goods markets. This is another goods market. This is a shop selling shoes or shirts or clothes of some kind or food. But this business's output is another business's input. And so the price of all of these has gone up, which means the price of all inputs to other businesses have gone up. This shop owner who was buying bread and making sandwiches sees the price of bread go up from the bread producer, so he also has to raise the price of sandwiches. At the same time, everybody's seeing wages go up. So all of this pressure puts upward pressure on the costs of production. As the costs of production begin to rise and the cost of every good in the store begins to rise, workers realize that prices are going up and they expect them to continue going up, and they demand higher wages, which reinforces the higher cost of production, and this pulls back the supply curve. As the costs of production rise, supply restricts. So eventually, we get to a point that's related to our natural maximum potential output. We didn't add actual labor, capital, technology, we just added more cash. And as a result, we weren't able to fundamentally increase production, but we pushed out demand, which pushed up all prices, which raised the cost of production and shifted this back to the left. And it turns out, in the end, this increase in the prices will be exactly 10%, the same as the money that was increased at the beginning. So this is the process through which the money works its way through the system.